Folks, hey, how you doing? Uh, Today we're going to talk about the solar incentives that are available right here in Tucson. Don't worry about all of the other stuff because our homes are here in Tucson, so the incentives as they apply here are what counts. Despite what the sales bros say, there's really only three, and they're pretty good, depending on what your situation is. So, first off, the federal government has extended the ITC, the investment tax credit. So, the investment tax credit, it was like this program. Basically, last year they had reduced the amount of basically tax credit that you would get, but when they did the Inflation Reduction Act, they extended the 30% number all the way out for another about 10 years ish. Or the point is this year, right now, well, depending on when you see this, it's probably pretty likely that it's still at 30%. You got to go and look it up, right, with your tax professional, right? This is all tax benefit type stuff. So you have to understand tax law insofar as you have your accountant or your tax preparation software to help make sure you file all of this correctly. But up to 30%, and I say up to 30%, and that might be a little bit misleading, right? But 30% of the system cost of that solar system to be installed as a tax credit. So let's just pretend for a moment that it was a $30,000 install, like the whole thing was $30,000. And so, what's 30% of that? Well, I'm not good with numbers that good, but let's say it was 10,000, so it would be a $3,000 tax credit. Now, at the end of the year, if you have to pay more than $3,000 in tax after you add up all your income and all your deductions and everything, and it's like this is how much tax you owe. If you owe more taxes than that 30% number, well, then you'll get that full 30% back this year. So if in this scenario where it was 10,000, so your tax credit is 3,000, if you only owed 1,500 bucks, well, then you would only get 1,500 bucks of a tax credit. The other 1,500 bucks you could maybe use the following year. Again, you need your tax software, your tax professionals to help you with that. So that's one, and that's big. That's huge, right? 30% is a large number, especially when you're talking about systems that could be 20 grand, give or take, 30 grand, give or take, depending on if you want batteries, maybe more, that sort of things. Arizona State has a very similar, it's tax credit. Again, it's a tax credit that applies against the tax that you owe. So if you haven't earned enough and such that your tax burden is high, well, then you're going to be limited by that part. But it's also in Arizona State capped at $1,000. The federal tax credit isn't capped. And then finally, in Arizona State, they have a rule where your property tax, the assessment on your home, cannot go up by the value that that solar power system adds to the home. So if your home was worth 100,000 and now you have a solar power system on it and it's worth 110, you can only be taxed at that 100, not at that 110. So that's the three major ones. The solar sales bros are going to all talk about how you're going to get a check or you automatically qualify, and they're going to throw numbers out there and state it matter of factly that this is exactly how much you're going to get back. You got to understand that only if you qualify based on what your tax burden was and a few other things. So not all of the cost of the installation is going to go in there. There's a few things that might be exempt from that, but there might be some things that you could add to that. For instance, you may, if you have a tree that would shade where you put your power system and you got to cut that tree down, the cost of cutting that tree down as preparation for install of the solar might be included in that ITC. You have to check with your tax professional. Guys, thanks for bearing with me. I know 5 minutes is a long time to look at my ugly mug, but I appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.